All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Dharma Digs podcast, a podcast in pursuit of purposeful living. I'm your host, Taylor Winchester, and as always, I'm extremely grateful that you've chosen to take a few minutes out of your day to stop by and tune into this podcast. So thanks for being here. Want to give a quick shout out for last week's episode, which featured Tom Shaw. Super stoked to have had that conversation with him, and thank you to everybody that's reached out thus far. And with comments on that, I think a lot of people enjoyed that conversation, myself included. So thanks again, Tom, for joining me. Also, of course, want to give a shout out to Leonardo Solis for providing me with the house music for this podcast. So thanks, Leo. Hope you and the fam are doing well. All right, today's episode is another solo dig, and it's going to be a relatively short one. And I want to talk a little bit about compassion, and the Sanskrit term for compassion is Karuna, which you may have noticed in the title of this podcast. But with all that is going on in the world, but most particularly here in the United States, not to delve into politics, but with a lot of the vitriol and just divisiveness that's happening, I think we could all use a little recognition and meditation on compassion, both for others, but also really some self-compassion as well, because with a lot of these trying times, I think it presents a lot of anxiousness and kind of sense of depression for a lot of people, and just heavy emotions, myself included. So I thought that today might be an opportune time to talk a little bit about compassion. And this week in some of my teacher training for meditation, we also talked about this, which is what really has kind of kept this thought at the forefront for me this week. And I think sharing it with you may help me just feel a little bit more peace within my own self. So many of you who have maybe followed this podcast along thus far know that I'm using this as a platform not only to engage in conversation with other folks about purpose and finding that kind of light within their own world, but it's also an opportunity for me to share some of the little nuggets of wisdom and insights that I'm finding along my own journey, particularly within my recent endeavor into meditation teacher training, and really implementing more of an Ayurvedic lifestyle approach into my own day-to-day. So that's what I'm going to share with you a little bit today. So as I mentioned, Karuna, in the title of this, Karuna is actually the Sanskrit terminology for compassion. And the reason I bring that up is because this week in one of our meditation practices, it's a mantra-based meditation, which means you to yourself quietly repeat this mantra. And Karuna is a lot of times we're using Sanskrit terms, and Karuna, again, is the term for compassion. So I may share a little quick 10-minute meditation with you at the end of this episode, but I'm going to give you a little background, not to get into religions too much, but I think this can, in some ways, kind of segue across many different religions. But in some of my research on the term Karuna and compassion within religious teachings, I came across a quote from the Dalai Lama's Heart Sutra, the essence of the Heart Sutra. And this quote is, again, by the Dalai Lama, and it talks about compassion and how it can be a state of mind to help us not only personally free us or want to be free from suffering, but also for others that are suffering. And I think that's what, if anything, I look at the actions of last week, and I realize that a lot of people in country are suffering right now for various reasons, and the least that I can do anyways is to have a little compassion for those folks, regardless of whether or not I agree with their actions, because I most definitely don't agree with those that marched upon the Capitol last week. So but this quote, it's again by the Dalai Lama, and he says in the Essence of Heart Sutra, His Holiness the Dalai Lama wrote, "According to Buddhism, compassion is an aspiration, a state of mind wanting others to be free from suffering. It's not passive, it's not empathy alone, but rather an empathetic altruism that actively strives to free others from suffering. Genuine compassion must have both wisdom and loving kindness. That is to say, one must understand the nature of the suffering from which we wish to free others, and one must experience deep intimacy and empathy with other sentient beings. So to reiterate that, genuine compassion must have both wisdom and loving kindness. So if we can at least attempt to understand the nature of the suffering from which we wish to free others, that's the wisdom and kind of the wisdom of the background of the wisdom of understanding. And then he goes on to say, one must experience deep intimacy and empathy with other sentient beings. And this is the loving kindness side of that. So again, you don't have to agree with everybody and their actions, and you can absolutely, find fault in both our own actions, but in others. But there has to be a willingness to try to understand, or try to at least want to kind of put a sense of compassion out there for others and for ourselves, to give us a little grace and hope that we can all become free of the suffering that is what unfortunately feels like a lot of today's world is full of suffering. So another little excerpt I pulled is actually from some of the reading that is part of my training, which was recommended, and it's the let's see, where did it go? I had it here. It talks again about Karuna, and this is coming actually from the Yoga Sutras, which is a book that Patanjali, who is a Vedic philosopher, and a lot of folks in the Ayurveda realm. If you don't know Ayurveda, there's nothing wrong with that, but the Vedic wisdoms are these 5,000-year-old science and kind of spiritual approach to living. So it encompasses both, mind, body, and spirit. So, but Patanjali, he emphasized compassion being one of the 4 attitudes that we must sustain in order to reach inner serenity, particularly when we're faced with a variety of situations in human life. And one of the verses from that book, he actually says, the mind becomes serene by the cultivation of feelings of love for the happy, compassion for the suffering, delight for the virtuous, and equanimity for the non-virtuous. And I thought a little bit about that, because I think that, again, it's important during these times to try and find a sense of loving kindness for others and compassion for others, but also a little bit, again, for ourselves when we're really struggling with handling these heavy emotions. So I'll leave you with that. I'll let you do your own kind of research on that. But what I do want to do is, if you feel so inclined to join me in this short meditation on compassion, would love for you to be a part of this. If you are driving, obviously, I don't expect you to, turn your car off or pull over or anything right now. But if you want to take part in this meditation, join me. Just sit comfortably. Find a spot that you can sit comfortably, preferably in some sense of silence or without other distractions. And we're going to start with just thinking and focusing on the breath. Maybe not thinking so much, but feeling and becoming the breath. So just release all the tensions, all of the thoughts about everything going on in your day-to-day right now, and really just find a moment to breathe. We're going to take a few cycles of deep breaths. We're going to do even breathing, which is 5 in and 5 out. We'll pause at the top of the breath. So let's just close your eyes and sit comfortably, either in your chair or wherever you are. Preferably, you'll have your feet or something touching the ground so that you can have a sense of grounding. So just sit for a moment, and we're going to take a deep breath in through the nose. Hold it at the top, and then release. We're going to do a couple more rounds of that, and we're going to count to 5. So 5 on the inhale. 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. 5 on the exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5. One more time. Okay, thank you. Very good. Feeling good now. Everybody, just nice and calm in your sense of being sitting there. I want you to imagine your crown chakra, which is right at the top of your head. Imagine a beam of light coming into the top of your head from, it's an endless beam, so you don't know where the top of it is. It's just shooting down into you right now. And imagine a sense of compassion coming through with that light that's coming into your crown chakra. Don't focus on the breath, just nice and easy. Imagine that light coming in. And as the light comes in, imagine it also going out. As you breathe out, imagine the light going out, and it's compassion. It's a light full of compassion that is going out to all others in the universe at the same time that you're filling up with this compassion. You're sharing it with others and wishing that everybody can free themselves of suffering. All right, as that light comes in, now I want you to repeat silently to yourself after me. We're going to repeat the Sanskrit term for compassion, which is Karuna. So this is going to be our mantra for the next few minutes. So as you breathe in and breathe out naturally, don't focus on your breath, but just let it be and be comfortable in being right now. And repeat Karuna, 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 Karuna. Continue repeating Karuna at your own pace. It doesn't have to be quick, doesn't have to be slow, but Karuna. I'll mind the time, just keep with the mantra, and I will let you know when it's time to release the mantra. All right, you can release the mantra, but please keep your eyes closed. Just relax, a couple of deep breaths. Relax. How do you feel? Feel in being, just relax in being for a moment. And when you feel comfortable, you can slowly open your eyes. Namaste. I want to thank you for meditating with me today and enjoying and joining me, at least in this podcast. I hope that you enjoy these conversations, and maybe you can imagine this compassion being with you throughout the day and throughout the weekend or throughout whatever days are ahead, and share that compassion with others. So thanks as always for tuning in. I'll be back next week with another podcast episode. Next week we'll actually feature an interview with another guest. So thanks for tuning in. If you do have time to stop by and leave a review, I would greatly appreciate it. And follow me on the social medias. I'm going to actually be sharing some info about some upcoming group meditations that I will be practicing my teaching on. So if you care to join up and be a part of that, I would love to have more folks to get some feedback. So feel free to either direct message me, or you can find the links to where you can sign up for that on my social media. So thank you, everyone. Sending out love and light. Have a wonderful day. Namaste. Thank you for being here.